okay, the future of Israel. And I prefer to call this part of the world Palestine, recognizing there are two different communities, if you like, with their own histories, with their own interests, which I think can't be ignored. I don't think one can simply say a secular democratic society overnight will develop here. In South Africa, because whites were such a small minority, and black people were also very forgiving, almost too much so, it's been possible to create a situation of seeming normality. South Africa today has a very, very fine constitution. We have a constitutional court, we have a Bill of Rights, but we still have enormous economic disparities, and that's the cancer. But at a political level, it is truly an open and free society. And that's something to value. That's something that many people made an ultimate sacrifice for, but we can see the benefit. The South African Communist Party would speak of a two-stage theory. First, political rights, and secondly, economic rights. Unfortunately, that negotiation, it was too lopsided. So on the economic side, the exploitation of the past continues today, and in some cases is even worse. So South Africa, there's a lot of unfinished business, but politically it's quite clear that there's majority rule, and there's freedom of speech and association. In Israel, we have a very different power dynamic, and in speaking particularly to Palestinians, they stress that there cannot be a negotiation that will be fruitful when this imbalance is so great. That on the Palestinian side, there has to be a unification. The current divisions are absolutely critical. I mean, they are, they're preventing Palestinians speaking with one clear, unified voice. And secondly, there is no real vision yet of a future society. In South Africa, we had that vision, which was a democratic, secular state. And because of the kind of population, the fact that white South Africa was not able to create a white state, that was untenable. They had to accept an open society. In Israel, it's not yet at that stage. And in fact, the power balance is increasingly on the Zionist side. Palestinians have never been weaker and more divided. And the world, for whatever reason, whether it's Islamophobia, the rise of ISIS, neoliberal capitalist supremacy, is not able to check this creeping annexation and the fact that the Zionist enterprise is all-consuming. So one finds a high degree of despair amongst the remnants of the Israeli left who do seek a different scenario, with the Palestinians being so weak, and the fact that globally there is no partner for a change of direction. So I wouldn't hazard a prediction as to what will happen here, but it's clear that Israeli military supremacy in the Middle East in general, not simply vis-à-vis the Palestinians, is a key factor, and that the United States, particularly with Trump as a president and Obama before him, has solidified this Israeli military superiority. And I mean, wars seem to break out here every at least 3-4 years. So the cycle of violence is quite constant. And in Israeli Zionist terms, that's the weapon to increase people's sense of insecurity. We've got no one to talk to, and we simply have to be strong, and if they raise one finger, we cut off the whole hand. So the lack of proportionality is also, a factor where for Palestinians they're up against the wall and there's no incentive to find some common ground. Israel's basically saying all or nothing. And Israel seems determined to take everything. On that basis, there will be some explosion in the future because the situation from the Palestinian side is untenable. A mass transfer to Jordan or Lebanon or Syria is very unlikely because those regimes won't accept 3, 4, 5 million Palestinians, neither will Egypt. So we have a frozen, it's a paralyzed situation to some extent, a captive population, increasingly economically under pressure, without political leadership that has a forward direction. There's no mass mobilization now because of internal pressure as well as Israeli constant security surveillance. So it's a very difficult and depressing scenario. One cannot see a way out. To some extent, given the South African experience, unless the Israeli left is able to build a more open, democratic mass movement of Israeli workers through trade unions and other structures, I don't see a chance for change in any positive direction. And the Histadrut is a bankrupt trade union movement. Koach Loavdim is starting out, but it has to build a base. But at least it's there. So that is a ray of hope. I would also say that Koach Loavdim is an example of how to begin to rebuild an Israeli left. And there, from outside, whoever wants to see a future for this society should be putting some effort into assisting this type of organization.